What's up, wrestling fans? It's your boy Chris Style with the Style Breakdown with Chris Style. I know it's been a minute, been a little busy, you know what I'm saying, with some family stuff, but I'm here, you know what I'm saying, to give you my recap of AEW Double or Nothing. I know I'm a little late. I know Dynamite was yesterday, but I still wanted to give my takes on Double or Nothing and just tell y'all my thoughts on the whole event, man. Give you my thoughts on the matches and stuff. So let's get on ahead and get into it, man. Hope y'all having a good day, man. Wherever y'all doing out there, appreciate y'all tapping into the lot to the podcast and tapping into my channel, man. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? Do me a favor, man. Subscribe, man, so I can build this channel up. Trying to give y'all as much wrestling content as I can give y'all, man. I know it's far and few between, not far and few between, but I try to do it every week. You know what I'm saying? When I can, you know what I'm saying? Very busy man with work and family and all that stuff. But I still like to give my takes on wrestling. So that's why I started doing this. So I appreciate y'all. Subscribe to the channel. So let's get into it, man. Double or Nothing, man, was an amazing pay-per-view. And look, AEW tends to, always have very good pay-per-views. Now I know they have a stack card and the big gripes with AEW is that they always have like 20 to 12 to 13, 14 matches, you know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of, just match after match after match. And after a while, it could get tiresome. But I will say Double or Nothing was one of the best pay-per-views they have put on in a long time. Like the past ones have been really good, but this one was 5-star, pay-per-view event that they put on nonstop action, good storytelling in each match. And I just, like I said, I really, really appreciate this event, man, and what Tony Khan and them are doing at AEW. They've been doing their thing in AEW lately, and just probably the past year and a half. I feel like AEW has really stepped their stuff back up and getting back to what they do best, man. And that's giving us good wrestling and giving us their stories that they want to tell, through these wrestlers, man. So you gotta appreciate what they give, man. So um I didn't watch Zero Hour, so I can't really comment on Zero Hour, but I will say I did see the MJF Mick Foley segment. And Mick Foley, he comes out, tells pretty much tells MJF, that Mick Foley comes out, then MJF comes out, they do their little back and forth. Mick Foley tells MJF, Darby Allin's gonna beat him. Of course, MJF does his, whole stick and kicks him, in the nuts. And kind of leaves it there. Runs away real soon. Darby Allin comes out to try to save Mick Foley, but of course, MJF runs up out of there. Um, and then we get into the first match of the night: Cage and Cope versus FTR for the World Tag Team Champ AEW World Tag Team Champions. This was a I Quit match, so anything goes. And that's exactly what happens. It was just back and forth, nonstop. Mayhem. There was a spot where Christian, his injured hand, they put a cinder block on it and hit it with a chair to cause it the, to, of course, he did the bump with that. Of course, there was a segment where, after that, Christian, what I'm saying, they give him the mic, tell him to quit. He tells them, I banged your mother, how Christian does. And the whole crowd starts yelling, I banged your mother, which was great. Beth Copeland, Beth Phoenix, whatever you want to call her. She comes out to help out. There was a spot where the table was on fire. They was trying to spear Beth Phoenix to the table. She moves out the way. Stokely catches on fire a little bit, and that was a crazy spot. But ultimately, all in all, Cage and Cope, they end up defeating FTR with the Beth hands Edge the spike back. Edge uses the spike back on Dax and Harwood and presses it against his head and makes him quit. And Cage and Cope are your new FTR or your new FTR, your new AEW Tag Team Champions. So shout out to Cage and Cope. We kind of figured that this was gonna happen, but it was a brutal match. If you haven't watched it, I suggest you go on HBO Max and go back and watch it. Then you had the Rainmaker Okada versus Tashida Keshna for the AEW Continental Championship. Um, this was, we all knew, or international championship, should I say? My bad. These two, they've been building up this story for a while. This is kind of almost like a passing of a torch type thing because Takeshita is kind of the new, top tier, Japanese wrestler. Okada, we know he's a legend, from his days in New Japan. This was a great build up. These two been going at it back and forth, and it was a great match, man. Some great spots in this match. Takeshita, he really put on Okada. Really put on Okada. He pretty much slowed the pace down a little bit. Controlled the match for the most part, but finally Takeshita got the upper hand, and end up winning. You know what I'm saying? And he ended up getting the international championship afterwards. Kyle Fletcher comes out. He was supposed to have been injured, but he comes back, acts like he's celebrating with Takeshita that he won the belt. He ends up clotheslining him. They end up beating him up, jumping him. The Don Callis family jump him, and pretty much sealing his fate as part of the Don Callis family. We kind of saw this coming, but shout out to Takeshita, shout out to Okada. This was a really good, great match. Then you had Athena versus Mina Shawara. This was this is for the Owen Cup for the women's side, the women's tournament of the Owen Cup. This is one of the first few matches for that Owen Cup tournament. And this was a good match. We knew these two were going to put on. There were certain spots where it was a little spotty, but outside of that, I think Athena and Mina had a really good match. Athena ended up getting the W with her move and with her finisher. And shout out to Athena. Look, I love Athena, what she's doing at ROH, but I really, and I know she's rolling with this forever champion thing, but I really want her to drop that belt and just focus on being on AEW. I think Athena should be a TBS champion. I think she should eventually be the women's world heavyweight champion. Like, I just think that she deserves to be on TV. Respectfully to ROH and the men and women who put on over there. There's no disrespect to y'all, but I think Athena is a star. Ever since she's came over to AEW, as she's turned heel, she's been putting on great content, good matches in ROH. She's done everything she could for ROH, I feel like. But I just feel like Athena, her shine should be, lit on TV. We should see her on Dynamite, Collision, and all the pay-per-views that AEW have to offer, and she should be one of the prominent figures in the women's division. So shout out to her. Hopefully, this means that she's going to be, I predicted that she's going to be in the finals, but I don't know if she's going to win the Owen Cup. I would love for her to win the Owen Cup, but I don't know. But hopefully this just, boosters her up as far as putting her on more AEW live TV, which, whether it be Dynamite, Collision, and I just want her to drop that belt. I get it. They want her to beat Bruno Sammartino's record for having the championship, but come on, man. Like, just let somebody else in the ROH have that belt and let her be on AEW championship, be on AEW television. So that's my whole thing. But shout out to Athena, shout out to Mina. They had a really good match. Then you have John Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly for the AEW Continental Champion. And the whole stick was that Moxley has not beaten Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly has made Moxley tap out. So that was the whole stick with this match. And, this was, a really good match, back and forth. Kyle O'Reilly, he's one of the more technically sound wrestlers in wrestling, period. Moxley, what he brings, he's more of a brawler. He has some technical skills to him, but he's more of a brawler type. type wrestler. I've always said that, John Moxley wrestles like somebody's uncle in the backyard. But what I'm saying, like, that's how John Moxley, John Moxley, he's not for everybody, but I respect John Moxley. I think he puts in the work and he does a really good job for telling stories, and he's a really good character. So it was a really good match, but ultimately, John Moxley, he made Kyle Riley tap out to an ankle lock, and he got the dub, and he is still your AEW Continental Champion. So shout out to those brothers right there. Then you had the match that everybody's been waiting for: Samoa Joe versus Will Ospreay, and this was on Will Ospreay's bucket list to face Samoa Joe, and this is part of the Owen Cup on the men's side. So what better way? What better stakes? Um, but those two, it was nothing short of what you was gonna think in a match between these two men. They put on, they did it, they had great spots. Samoa Joe did his nope spot to the Os Cutter. Um, but it was just a good back and forth, good style contrast. Which Osprey hits the hidden blade on Samoa Joe after he did before that he did the style clash to him, hit him with two hidden blades, and end up getting the pin and getting the win. And Will Ospreay, he moves on in the Owen Cup. Um, I, I I I think I don't think the match has happened. Oh no, I think he faces Mark Davis, his former United Empire, teammate. So uh, stablemate, should I say? So those two will be going face to face in the next tournament because Mark Davis, he won yesterday on Dynamite to beat Jungle Boy to move on, and he's the national champion too. So these two are going to have a good match. I'm pretty for sure. So shout out to those gentlemen. And then another match for the Owen Cup tournament for the men's side: Swerve Strickland, Bandino, and this match, another match that we knew was going to be great. Him and Bandino, they did a lot of great spots, a lot of good things. But ultimately Swerve, he played on Bandino. He wanted to try to hit his move on him, but unfortunately his neck was messing with him, for all the punishment he was taking through the match. Swerve capitalized on that, hit him with the vertebraker, and end up getting the pin. 1, 2, 3. Swerve Strickland moves on in the tournament, and I personally think that Swerve Strickland is going to be in the finals against Will Ospreay. That's my prediction for this, and I think Will Ospreay will beat Swerve Strickland to move on to All In to face whomever, whether it be MJF or Kenny Omega or whoever, is the champion at All In. I personally would love it to be MJF to be at AEW versus Will Ospreay, because I think that last time him and MJF faced off each other, I think MJF beat him. And he hasn't beat Swerve Strickland either, so this would be another hurdle to get to his story, finishing his story to winning it All in the UK for the AEW World Championship. So, but Swerve Strickland, Bandino, Chef's Kiss, 5-star match they put on for sure, for sure. Then you had Tekla, Karashida, Chris Statlander, and Jamie Hayter for the AEW Women's World Champion. This was a 4-way match, so that means anything goes. And hey, man, these women put on. At first, Stat and Karashida, they were acting like teammates. Well, actually, it started off with Hayter, Karashida, and Stat jumping Tekla. They pretty much put the beats on her, threw her out of the ring. Then Chris and Hayter started going at it, and they had a little back and forth. And then her Karashida, she started doing some sneaky stuff to Chris Statlander. There was a spot where there was a chance for Chris Statlander to get the dub over Tekla, but Karashida hit her with the kendo stick, which pretty much took her out. But all in all, Tekla ended up getting the dub. I want to say she pinned Chris Statlander, and she got the W. And shout out to Tekla, man. She's been a great women's world champion. Man, I love what Tekla has been doing with that belt. She's been a great heel. She's been doing good things. I think they're building up for her. Either they're going to build up for her and Jamie Hayter at All In for her to lose the belt at All In to Jamie Hayter, or maybe Mercedes Moné. Maybe she's the wild card because there is a wild card in the Owen Cup. So I don't know if it's Jamie Hayter. It could because Alex Windsor, she's got a wild card because unfortunately Willow, she got hurt. She had to drop the TBS belt and she had to drop out of the Owen Cup uh the Owen Hart Cup tournament. So, the wild card speculation, it could be, Mercedes Moné, it could be Britt Baker coming back. But I think they might play the safe way, especially after the promo of those two yesterday. It could be Jamie Hayter as the wild card. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see. But shout out to Tekla. She got the W. She's still your AEW Women's World Champion. And then the Stadium Stampede. We all know Stadium Stampedes are gonna be crazy. They're gonna be nuts. There's gonna be all kinds of spots and crazy stuff going on. The entrances for the babyface side. You had of course, you got Chris Jericho, the Hurt Syndicate, and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. They went against Ricochet, uh, you know, Khan and Loa, the End Man against Andrade, Mark Davis, and the Dogs, Connors and David Finley. Um, and it was a crazy match. Good spots. There was a spot where Bobby Lashley, he's knocked down, and Leah Rush comes out of nowhere, and Leah Rush is playing on this Black Heart, crazy gremlin type character, and it was just good to see him and Bobby Lashley interact with each other with their past in WWE, and they kind of helped each other out, and it was just great energy, great stuff going on. Ultimately, Chris Jericho, he gets the pin over Khan. They do like a 7-team super kick on him, and pretty much get the dub over Khan. And yeah, uh, the baby faces, the good guys, win the Stadium Stampede. But it was a great spots. And then you had, of course, the AEW World Championship title versus hair, Darby Allen versus MJF. In this match, Darby was they kind of presented him like the underdog, and I heard some people talk about it. I heard a lot of people didn't like that was like that because you know, Darby had been putting on great matches. Uh, Up until this match, he had been doing, a lot of good matches with a lot of top tier AEW talent. So a lot of people didn't like the underdog, but MJF, ultimately he just slow paced it, beating up. But Darby got his shots in. There was a spot, now he comes off the top of where the entrance is onto the table, does a coffin drop. But ultimately, MJF takes advantage of the beatdown that he put on Darby Allin, hits him with a top rope tombstone, then picks him up, flips him, and then does like a flip arm drag pin and gets the W. And MJF is your new AEW World Champion, or your 3-time AEW World Champion. And Kevin Knight comes out, and it looks like he's trying to, protect MJF or protect Darby Allin. MJF runs out of the ring, but then all of a sudden, Kevin Knight jumps on the top rope, does like a frog splash with Darby Allin on the stretcher. He does it to Darby Allin on the stretcher, flips the stretcher over. And, a lot of people started booing. And if you watch Dynamite, he pretty much said that Darby Allin dropped the ball. He had a chance, and it should have been his spot. So that's why he did what he did. He even turned on Speedball Mike. So no more Jet Speed. It's just, Jet 2, which is him. So Kevin Knight now is you're going to be a heel. I know there was a spot, because we all know that Swerve pretty much told him that, you got to be a killer to walk amongst killers. So there was a spot where Kevin Knight was walking in the back. He passes Swerve, him and Swerve lock eyes. Swerve puts a smirk on his face, pretty much like almost like a proud big brother. Like, look at him, you know what I'm saying? You finally getting it. And ultimately, Kevin Knight is now a heel now. So, but as far as Double or Nothing, great night, great night. Really loved it. And if you haven't watched it, I suggest you go watch it. Go check it out. Like I said, AEW's been cooking. Dynamite was great too. There was some great, stuff on there. Like I said, Mark Davis beat Jungle Boy. The Chris Statlander Kirishita match was great. Street fight, they went at it. Chris Statlander got the dub. Um, Haley Harley Cameron came out to help out Stat with this kendo stick, which ultimately got her the dub. Um, and yeah, man, it was just a great night of wrestling for Chris Jericho versus Ricochet. That was a good match. I'm trying to think of all the matches that happened that night. Um, but yeah, man, it's gonna be a great. It was a great night of wrestling for Double or Nothing. Dynamite was really good. Go check it out. And man, I appreciate y'all tapping in with me. Go ahead, like I said, hit that subscribe button so you can tap into my content. Like I said, I know there's a whole plethora of wrestling content creators out there, man. I'm just trying to add to it. I ain't trying to take over and do no. I'm just trying to add to it, give you my opinions, give you my thoughts. And man, I just want to continue to grow in this space. Like I said, this is a new space for me. I do have other podcasts where I talk sports and other things, but this is a new space for me talking wrestling. So, but I appreciate y'all tapping in, and hopefully y'all enjoy my recap of Double or Nothing. And until next time.